Hey guys.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, first question, we've got Dave Meltzer.
Chris, how you doing?
Oh, hey Dave, what's up, man? Good to see you.
So,
I haven't seen you since Tokyo, maybe, right?
what?
Tokyo Dome, maybe was the last time I saw you, 2020? Yeah, crazy. Before the world went nuts. Yes. Yeah.
So, what was it like? I mean, you had 10 people. I mean, and that match was just insane.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like putting this thing together? Because I was just like, there's so much going on that you almost have to watch it like 4 times to catch everything. I mean, it was insanity. That's all I can say.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that our production team, our directors did just an amazing job because it was very crazy. We had done the Stadium Stampede the last 2 years, obviously, and it was because it was a product of its time. I just watched the first Stadium Stampede with Matt Hardy for his podcast just a couple days ago. It still holds up. It's such a great spectacle, especially when none of us really knew what was going on. We had to record the whole thing in an empty stadium, obviously. Then last year was kind of a combination of the Stadium Stampede and then a live, the finish was in the live arena. So when we were talking about what are we going to do this time, we thought about a couple different things, a couple different names, and then we just said, let's make it kind of a Stadium Stampede, but in the live arena.
I was standing in the back. We were standing in the back in the arena, and literally I said like, well, "Arena Anarchy."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Anarchy
Well,
in the
then you
Arena.
ended up going to Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah.
It was better, but it was just like we were looking. It was a great choice.
Yeah, we wanted to do something with that spirit, but transpose it into the live arena. Now, a street fight is a street fight, but we said, let's just go completely over the top, and also keeping in mind that we have 10 people and only so many cameras, and we got to keep it where the fans can kind of still see what's going on. So we came here on Thursday and just started talking about it, and that's when I started thinking like, okay, this is going to be really cool. And then being out there and feeling, I think people really enjoyed it, and I think where Tony placed it in the show was very smart because it was the right place to kind of kickstart the last, third of the whole show.
We've got Dave Schnelling and LA Times. Sorry.
Sure.
Because of the way this match was and went and everything like this, do you think this can be like one of your company signature matches, like where you do it once a year or every 18 months, or something you go back to as like kind of one of your regular?
I think it's a more sustainable solution than Stadium Stampede.
Yeah.
I think Chris is the master of reinvention, and I think once again putting heads together and with Chris's great mind, we reinvented and did something, and now we have Anarchy in the Arena, and
we were very proud of Stadium Stampede. We said we were originally thinking maybe we should call it that, but it's a new version of it. But then we said that was a product of its time. Maybe we'll revisit it, but now we can do an Anarchy in the Arena whenever the time is right, no matter what time of the year it is.
Dave, LA Times.
Thank you. My favorite part of the match is the song playing through most of the match. Whose idea was this? And then whose idea was to kill it?
So I think when we were talking about it originally, we were kind of hearkening back to New Jack when his music would play throughout his matches, which kind of took away the fact that there were just basically plunder and just garbage going on, but the music added some excitement to it. So we thought, okay, so if we can play the music for the first third of the match, that will kind of sustain it to where people see it's just kind of basic. Well, not the thing was basic, but just kind of until we get to some of these bigger moments. I think because no one's ever done that here in AEW or anywhere since then, it's kind of it kind of makes it seem different. It makes it different. And then I thought, well, this is great, and I'll be the party pooper who hates this song, and let's break the soundboard. So let's put a soundboard thing up there, and we'll break it. And that was my favorite part too. As soon as we hit the ground, it goes off, and I was telling Tony, I love wrestling. I still love wrestling for moments like this. Yes, it's comic, but it's like the asshole heel just hates music, and it's I'm going to smash this soundboard and finally cut it off. And then that kind of enabled us to go to the next stage of the match. So it was kind of half of a cue, half of a really kind of opening kind of salvo of just chaos, and then gives me a cool moment of being the curmudgeon who just hates rock and roll music. Turn it off.
Danny, Las Vegas Sun.
Chris, you obviously wrestled in this city for many years, dating back to WCW. Coming back after 2 years away, not having Double or Nothing here, and to come back where it all started, I guess, how good was it to have Las Vegas back as a wrestling town and see that revival?
Yeah, Las Vegas has been a great wrestling town for me and all the companies that I work for, but especially for us here. I mean, this is where it all started for us. You know, it really did. And I think Chicago and Las Vegas are the two cities that are really synonymous with AEW as far as kind of some of our foundation shows, the tentpole shows. So to come back, and like I said, we did a great job during the lockdown of keeping the lights on, creating new historic Stadium Stampede, but to be back in the crowd, and it's not the MGM Grand anymore, it's the T-Mobile, and this is a big room, man. And when we came in here the other day and there was nothing in here, it was just one big giant empty room, and it was like, this is a big place. So it was, once again, like it shows we were really hot before all the stuff went down, and now we're really hot after. Everything has gotten better. And I think that's a testament to the work that we all put in keeping the ball rolling. And so now that we can have a full T-Mobile Arena and deliver the show like we did tonight, it puts us kind of right back to where we were in January of 2020.
And you remember when we got cut off, it was like 2 weeks before we were going into New York, New Jersey.
That's
finally,
right, for Blood and Guts.
Going to Prudential Center and everything changed. And now we built, not only did we get to do that, but then it worked out so well that when we finally did go to Prudential Center, then we also a week later got to build another franchise tentpole show with Grand Slam, which is our tentpole TV there, and build the New York market out, which I think is obviously in the world of sports and wrestling is so important to all, as we know. And here in Las Vegas, Chicago, New York, and now finally opening up LA with you going back to the Forum, which is pretty cool.
That's gonna be great too. I mean, all these big shows on this side of the country, we're very, very excited about. It's been a long time coming.
Brian?
Chris, great job tonight. Brian's own Money in the Bank shot. Through the last couple of months, you've obviously gone through a physical transformation. I have not seen you speak on this publicly on what you've been doing on your diet. Because dude, you're 50 and you look great. What are you doing?
Yeah, it just was a combination of a bunch of different things, and I just started really kind of changing my diet around for for a little bit for some health reasons that I had that I'll explain at some point. But once I lost 10 pounds and it wasn't really that hard, I said, well, maybe I'll just keep on this diet. And then it just became a way of life, and it's tied in so perfectly with like Tony mentioned, reinventing myself. It was just when we started doing the Jericho Appreciation Society, and then I lose a bunch of weight, and it just kind of all fit in. It was it really was inspiring to that's the hardest thing whenever you have to break some kind of a bad habit or eating habit or whatever, where you feel a little bit of inspiration. Then it tied into what I was doing on screen, and Tony was very much behind it. It just all fit. It was the next every time I reinvent, it's not, I don't write it down. I could say that I just write these things down and it's all coming to plan. None of this was ever supposed to happen, ever, except for I had some health issues in December. Then as soon as I was fine, Eddie Kingston broke his orbital bone, and then we're like, what the fuck are we gonna do? This is the match that's never going to happen, except for now it created the whole Jericho Appreciation, the Blackpool Combat Club. All of the stuff that we're doing was very organic, and I keep saying it, it's writing itself. The story is writing itself, and that was a big part of it.
Thank you, Chris.
Joel?
Hi, Chris. I have to highlight three guys, 2.0 and Danny Garcia. What did you see in these guys, and how did you guys work on these three guys to get in such a great match as tonight?
Well, it's kind of a combination. Once again, Tony and I always laugh because we always have great minds think alike moments where I'll text something and he'll say, I was thinking the same thing, and vice versa. And he put those three guys together, right? So when we started thinking of okay, maybe I should, because my original idea was to end up doing the feud with Eddie Kingston. You can't win the big one. He wins the big one. We shake hands. We become partners. Maybe we join up with Mox and become some kind of a trio of just kind of hard-nosed vets or whatever the hell it was. And then Bryan Danielson did the promo where he said, I'll start my own faction with Mox, and I'll bring in Lee Moriarty, and I'll bring in this guy, and Wheeler Yuta, and I'll bring in Danny Garcia. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of a drag if we do that, because then Danny Garcia and 2.0 have been this trio that was involved in me and Eddie's story. And I thought 2.0 is doing really good. We kind of brought them in and didn't know what to expect, and they kind of really killed it. And then I started thinking, why would we ever break them up? And why would I not use them and turn on everybody else and keep Jake as the heater and start a whole new faction? And it was just that's it. Because Eddie had just done a thing where he said that Santana and Ortiz didn't win the tag titles because of me. And it sprinkled this little shadow of a doubt in there, and that's when Eddie got hurt and he couldn't work. So I said, well, let's do a thing with Santana Ortiz. Finally, the Inner Circle goes our separate ways. Sammy quit because he was the champion at the time. It's between you guys. It just all fell into place, and that's when it was like, okay, I could use those three guys and start a completely new thing and put the spotlight on them, and not just on Danny, but on Matt and Angelo as well. And they've done a great job. I mean, Matt Menard has become one of our best characters on the show. I mean, he's what Pat Patterson would call a gimmick. You're a gimmick. If there was no wrestling, you'd do nothing in life. And that's basically what he is. He's a gimmick, man, in the best possible way. So we've really kind of seen this, and like, you know, and Jake Hager's always very underrated. He's all into it, and just let's all wear white tonight. Let's wear Kangol hats like Danny Garcia, who was like, originally was like, well, he's a sports entertainer, and people were furious. The Ultimate Wrestler is now a sports entertainer, and what did he do? He wore a Kangol hat. I was like, I was this many days old today when I wore my first Kangol hat. Like, what the fuck is a Kangol? Where'd you get a Kangol hat? You weren't even alive in 1996. So everyone's got inspiration and everyone's feeling it, and it just creates great moments and great matches like we saw tonight.
Okay, guys, a couple more. Yes.
Brian Alvarez. Hey, buddy.
I'm intrigued at your ability to get things over that you've done throughout your career. And I've noticed that, like, Bryan Danielson will come up with an idea of something that he wants to get over. Like, he saw the Yes thing from...
right.
Yes. But it seems to me that you will do something, and then you will see that there's an ability to get that over. Like when the belt got stolen, and you did the promo in the hot tub, and you mentioned the bubbly. I don't think that you, at the time, and you can correct me.
No, there was no bubbly, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you had the idea that I'm going to get over this phrase, the bubbly.
Right.
But you saw that it got over, and then you went with it. So how would you... I just kind of want to know the way that your mind works. Would you say that the majority of the things that you get over, the list, the bubbly, I mean, you can go throughout your career, were these things that I'm going to get this list over, I'm going to get this bubbly over? Like, is it kind of like a Danielson thing where you have this idea of something you want to get over, or are most of your ideas, something happens and you just think, man,
that's it. I think one thing that I'm pretty good at is just reading the room. Because I've had a lot of things like where, like I thought like GFY, that's a good one, and then the same night Mox came out and literally said, "Go fuck yourself," and it's like, well, that one's done. But no one was really getting into it. You're kind of swimming upstream. But for example, like the Wizard, for example, all it was throwing the fireball. I'm a wizard, and I start seeing people like, okay, they're making gifs of Chris Jericho with a Gandalf. And Chris Jericho's face on Gandalf, or like all these cartoons or Dragon Ball Z, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. They like this wizard. So then I say it a couple more times. I can do what I want because I'm a wizard. And then little kids now, they're posting videos. So what are you? I'm a wizard. Oh, now we have something. So that's why we did the fireball last week, just on the random backstage guy, because you don't have to do it much, but just doing it a second time, now it's Chris Jericho's. I'm a wizard. My dad said, "How did you do that fireball?" I said, "I'm a wizard." I'm a wizard, Dad. It's like, well, dude, do you want one? It's in my hands. So that's kind of what you just read the room and kind of see. Like, people don't bring signs anymore. You notice that?
Yeah.
I noticed that a couple of weeks ago. Nobody brings, back in the day, signs everywhere. That's how you could tell. Jimmy Hart would always say, you can't make people write signs.
You know why? You know what's hard?
Why?
You can't hold your sign in your phone
Good call.
at the same time.
That's a good point. Good point.
Everyone's always got their phone in
So
their
you
hand.
used to be able to read the signs, and now what you do is read social media, and you see kind of what's moving and what's shaking, and then, you know, we maybe put out a t-shirt, see how it does. Oh, it's the number one seller of the week. Okay, now we have something. So I think it's basically just reading the climate of the room and kind of hearing what people do, and just that I'm pretty good at that. And instinct is good as well. A lot of, 32 years of doing this, I have a real kind of good feel as to what people are into or what they might be into. And most of the time I'm right. Not all the time, but most of the time I'm right. Even Jericho Appreciation Society, when I told Tony that one, he bid on it right away. And I was like, dude, he was like, this is great. And I was like, when I first said that, huge outrage. Jericho Appreciation, that's terrible. It's terrible. I was like, okay, stop. I'm in charge. You should have called it Inner Circle 2.0. Right? No.
I love
That's
it.
terrible. And then here we are now, Jericho.
And the sports entertainment.
And the sports entertainment.
I leaned into sports entertainment as soon as you said it. What a genius!
Right.
What a genius! And it leaned so perfect into Bryan Danielson, Mox.
Well, that was another thing too. Quick, I'm sorry, I know you guys have been here a long time.
No, it's great.
But, so we were in Bridgeport, and Eddie Kingston and I had a face-to-face promo, and he was great because he came in there and said, you know, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't want to talk. This is pro wrestling. You want sports entertainment? Go down the road. Huge reaction. Oh, that's interesting. They don't like sports entertaining. They don't like sports entertainer. Call my trademark guy. Let me ask you a weird question. Sports entertainer trademarked? Nope. Is now. So that's kind of why I was like, it's perfect. And then like he just said with the Blackpool Combat Club, and then suddenly they're connected because of Eddie and Mox, and none of you guys saw it coming, which made me laugh so hard. All the smart minds in the room, nobody saw this. It's 5-on-3. It's 5-on-3. Okay, it's getting old. These guys got to do something. Blackpool Combat Club. Oh, it's getting old. They got to do something. You never saw the connection that it was coming to a head. We came up with that 3 months prior. But it's like I said, it all connects. Everybody connects. So pro wrestlers versus sports entertainers. There you go.
Thank you, guys. Last question. Go ahead, Don.
All right, Dominic D'Angelo from WrestleZone. We talked about reinvention. First time I did a scrum, I actually thought Terry Funk reinventing himself. Who on the roster would you say has that potential to kind of reinvent themselves that you've kind of seen? Have you seen anybody kind of give that indication or something in that regard?
Well, I think Bryan Danielson's doing a pretty good job. I think Moxley, if you look at Moxley now compared to 3 years ago, maybe not like a different gimmick or something, but he's a completely different performer than he was then. A lot of our roster is very young. You know what I mean? So they haven't had to reinvent yet. You know when it's time to reinvent, we start getting stale. But unless you have the experience, it's hard to know that you're getting stale. That's once again, you got to listen to what the crowd is doing. I mean, Matt Hardy's reinvented himself very well over the years, but he's also got years and years of experience. So I don't know, and I'll have to see. I'm trying to think who's creative. Like Swerve Strickland is very creative, and I had him on Talk Is Jericho, and just listening to how he thinks about wrestling was very interesting. Malachi, that's a perfect example. Done a great, completely different of what he was in WWE, with still a kernel of the same thing, but he's created this whole new faction and vibe for himself. So those type of guys, I think, have a real proclivity to change, because reinventing is not just doing great promos and doing new angles. It's a complete gimmick change. I always go back to when Kiss took their makeup off. You know what I mean? Like, you knew that this was a new Kiss because there's no makeup. That's just insane. Why would they do this? Because it's different now. And for me, every time I change, there's always different clothes or a different look, different catchphrase, a different entrance. I remember when I walked out in trunks in 2008 in WWE, and I'd worn nothing but long tights for 20 years, and I was like, okay, I'm turning heel. I want to get rid of Y2J, get rid of the countdown, and switch from long tights to trunks. And I walked out, and the first guy I saw was Bruce Pritchard. Said, "You've got great legs. Why have you been hiding them?" And I was like, oh, great. And I walked 3 feet down the hall. I see Demon Lake. He goes, "You look ridiculous. Why would you wear those?" If I had seen Dean first, I would have went back into the locker room and would have put my long pants back on. Because I saw Bruce, I was like, okay, this works. Same with Painmaker. The first time I wore that makeup, the only place you could walk into a dressing room and no one would bat an eye is in Japan, because they love weird shit there. I remember walking out and no one even said a word. I went to talk to Naito, and he didn't even look. And he go, "Nice paint." He just said, it was like, no one's even commenting on this. This is great. I'm going to do this and continue on as the Painmaker in New Japan. So, like I said, you just have to know and have instinct, and be completely confident and not be afraid of what anybody says, as long as you see Bruce first and Dean second.
Thank you, Chris Jericho.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
If I may, I don't know, Revolution, Chris knows this, and I may have even mentioned this to different people here. I thought the last pay-per-view we had, Revolution, before this, was one of our best, and I thought Chris's match with Eddie is one of the best matches we've had, and for both men, and then I was like, how are they going to come back and follow up on Revolution tonight, and something completely different, completely unforgettable, and somehow you did it. So thank you once again.
And I just want to say one last thing too. I'm really happy for CM Punk being our new champion. What a story, 7 years away, and then now he's the champ again. So I think that was a perfect way to put an exclamation point on a great pay-per-view.
Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good seeing you.